Good afternoon, and welcome to the Week 7 edition of the Prep Football Podcast. I'm Jeff Linder, Jeff Johnson here, K.J. Pilcher with Hercules over his right shoulder. And, we'll hit it here in just a moment. I think this is the week the weather turns. Shorts weather is going to be behind us tomorrow, and might be umbrella weather from what we're hearing, but definitely light to medium jacket with highs in the 50s tomorrow. It's football weather. It's combine the corn and beans weather, and it's almost playoff weather. Just your thoughts about last week and this week, and where we're standing, guys.
Almost done. Can you believe it? I mean, we say this all the time, right? But I mean, for crying out loud, we're down here. The 2 more games left for the small schools, 3 for the big schools. I mean, to me, it's unbelievable how this is just flown by, and we say it every year, and it just continues to be true. And like you said, Lindy, it's finally maybe going to start feeling a little bit like football weather. So that's good. Playoffs are literally right around the corner, and this is where it all starts to get really interesting from my perspective, I guess.
You guys talk about how the season is just drastically, every year it seems like it goes by a little bit quicker, right? And just while you were talking, I kind of got to thinking about, my senior year and kind of the feeling that, that you have when you're going through something like this. And, when you're a senior and you've been playing football since you were in 5th grade, and now some probably even younger, but then all of a sudden you get to the point where there's 3 games of the regular season left. And then I remember walking away from Prairie to the bus after our last regular season game. And of course, we didn't make the playoffs that year. We were number 17 out of 16. And I just remembered kind of the empty feeling, thinking it's over, and going back and remembering junior high games and freshman games, sophomore games, and everything in between. And some of the practices where you're like, oh crap, I wish this was over. And for it to come down, you never really appreciated what you went through till it was done. And I still remember that walk from where the visitor locker rooms were to the bus out at Prairie. And, my advice to seniors out there, whether you have 2 games left or 3 games left, or finish your season up in the Unidome, make sure to soak everything in. Same with parents. Each one of these nights, make sure to take a look around and just soak it in, because football Friday nights are not. That's not replicated by very many events in your life, So when you've got these games on Friday nights kind of going forward tonight, Thursday night, Kennedy and Hempstead, albeit Kingston, but soak in those moments, soak in those nights, because, it goes by so fast. You don't appreciate it as much as you should. And then when it's over, you realize that's something you're not going to experience again.
As a player, KJ, how fast does 9 weeks go as a player? I mean, compare it to as a player to now.
Depends on the week, really. There are some weeks that seem like they would never end, especially when you're coming off maybe a butt kicking or something like that. But right now it seems to move a lot faster while you're in the middle of it. When you're done with the season and you look back, and then when you're able to, when you're a little bit removed, then you realize how quickly it went. Like when you play that last game in October or even November, and then you look back and realize, that's been it's been 2.5, 3 months or whatever. It seems like it was a blur from when you started, like summer camps or preseason practices and stuff like that to when it's over. So when you're in the midst of it, there's sometimes it's quick, sometimes it seems to drag on depending on how things are going. But afterwards, you realize how quickly it really zoomed by, and of course now it just seems to accelerate faster and faster with each season.
Okay. We'll kind of go through the 3 games we covered last week. I guess I'll go ahead and go first. I was at Kingston last week. I covered Kennedy's 34-14 win over Bettendorf, and I got to find the quote. It was one of the better ones I've seen. Trevor Scott said, "This is Kennedy football, and this train isn't going to stop for nobody." And boy, I'll tell you, the engines are starting to roll over at Wenig and 42nd. They were 0-2. Now they're 4-2. They got Hempstead tonight. They spotted Bettendorf the first touchdown, and then they scored the next 4 and handed Bettendorf the first loss. They had 2 running backs with 100 yards plus each. Passed for 150. So they're rolling right now, and this is, I think, now the kind of team that you guys both expected at the beginning of the year.
As Coach Prime would say, we coming.
They coming.
Isn't that kind of what? Yeah. And that's the second week in a row, Lindy, where they had 2 running backs with over 100 plus yards. Because the week before against City High, Doyle and Scott have been a nice little combination there, and they're so big up front. And we all know that. And Vinny Gianforte, Cyrus Courtney, gives them a legit passing combo as well. They're very difficult to stop from an offensive standpoint. And like you said, seems to be coming together. And I would expect to win tonight, probably pretty handily, even though Hempstead's had a decent season. But this is, like you said, we'll see how this continues on. But right now, it looks like they're really putting it together. And guys, too, I mean, they didn't get to practice Monday because of the unfortunate deal here in town. You wonder how one less day of preparation might play into things, especially on a short week, right?
But you got they got practicing Sunday apparently. Maybe that'll counteract. But I'll just throw in, without any knowledge of what may have been done Monday, if you don't think there were some seniors grabbing one another and saying, "Hey, let's head out to Norridge and run some stuff." If you don't think there was some kind of workout Monday, be a little naive, but I'm sure they got some, whether it was captain's led or something. I bet you they met up somewhere and got some type of work in. And I'm just going to piggyback what you guys have kind of said with the pieces being put together. You've seen kind of the evolvement from week 1, throwing the ball a lot. And then all of a sudden teams see how effective they are throwing the ball, change things up. And now they're, that passing game has opened up things in the run game in the last few weeks. And now you have this balanced attack really clicking on all cylinders now. And they've shown they can run, they can pass. The defense has really come along here in recent weeks as well. I mean, this is just, I think both of you said, putting the pieces together where it's this, connect that, and then now everything is hooked up. And boy, really high on Kennedy going forward.
Kennedy jumped from, I think they were 8 last week to tie for 3 in our Gazette poll this week. So that's, we all kind of took note of what Kennedy did last week, and they made a big jump. JJ, tell us about your game last week.
Xavier North Scott. It was a heck of a tilly. Sorry, I'm using hockey terms. It's hockey season, boys. So But yeah, I mean, and North Scott scored on its first couple of possessions, and did pretty much whatever it wanted to do. In the first half, most of the first half, Kyler Girardi's a wonderful quarterback for them. Really, really has quick feet. Reminds me a little bit of Quinn Schulte when he was at Xavier, and it was 21-7, I believe, and Xavier then just started to ground and pound and went on a long drive, scored, cut the deficit, kept the ball away from North Scott, for about 7 minutes of the second quarter, and then got the scored right before the half. Got the ball back to start the third quarter. Went on a long drive. So I mean, it was almost a quarter that North Scott went without the ball, and that really kind of changed the momentum of the game. And then Girardi got hurt. Sorry, I have a little kitty that keeps jumping on my screen here. He and I mean the everything just kind of flipped, and Xavier was able to score late, get a stop, and win 27-21, I believe it was. So great game, two really good teams. Kyler Girardi, as I mentioned, the North Scott quarterback, got hurt late on their final drive on a non-contact injury. I've heard it's an ankle and not a knee, and I hope that's true because like I said, he's a really good player. Kind of makes that team go, and Xavier just Pilcher. I mean, they moved Colton Beasler Weber from running back to wide receiver, and brought in Noah Schimberg to be the running back to kind of get things maybe going a little bit offensively. It seems to have worked. So we've talked all year about 4A and how crazy it is, and from what I've seen, you can't discount either one of those teams that I saw Friday night from maybe being there at the end.
Yeah, especially if Girardi is able to find his way back on the field between now and week 10. So, KJ, you had a game Thursday and a game Friday?
Yeah, Thursday I was at Kingston for Jefferson, Iowa City West. Jefferson looking to rebound from their first loss of the season to Washington the week before, but this one, pretty much all Iowa City West. Of course, Jefferson was out without their senior quarterback, Jeremiah Pfeiffer. He was injured, unable to play against the Trojans, and Jeff really needed him. Iowa City West won 44-0. Got a really strong game out of Jack Wallace, the junior quarterback there, threw for over 160 yards and a touchdown. But the one person that I really kind of came away really impressed with was Santana Miller from West. He scored offensively, rushing the ball. He blocked the punt, scooped it up, and ran it in for a touchdown. And then in the second half, he intercepted a pass and ran it back about 65 yards maybe or so for a touchdown. 84 yards for a touchdown. I tell you, he's a difference maker for him, and does it in all phases of the game. I know Coach Hartwig said they're looking to get more, possibly more touches for him offensively, but defensively, Hartwig said Miller's one of the hardest hitters that they've ever had, and he's been there through a lot of really good teams, and that's saying a lot with the tradition that West has. But just thought, West was definitely the better team there. Jefferson just doesn't have the depth, so they need all hands on deck pretty much. Hopefully Pfeiffer is able to come back for them. But the Trojans looked really impressive with that dominant win last Thursday. And then I was out at Marion on Friday for the 4A matchup between Western Dubuque and Marion. And I tell you what, Western Dubuque looked really, really good. Marion coming off two really impressive wins. And their stadium is phenomenal, by the way.
Yep.
Love the new stadium that they have out there. It's just the right size and has all the bells and whistles. Um, it's a heck of an experience. So even if you're a general football fan and Marion's got a home game, make sure to wander out there sometime when you can, because it's it's a pretty neat facility. And of course, Western Dubuque, we've known how strong they are. We know that a lot of people kind of focus on Grant Glauser, and what he does as a running back. He averaged 5.6 yards a carry, uh, just inside or just under 100 yards, um, and scored a touchdown. But this team is not. I think my lead pretty much was this is not a one trick pony. Western Dubuque has a lot of thoroughbreds that can make plays, and they showed it. Quarterback Tanner Anderson, really taking command of the offense and spreading the ball around. He threw for 184 yards, and touchdowns to three receivers. Brock Carpenter had a big 60-yard TD pass towards the end of the first half. So they have that big playmaking ability. Carpenter also returned a punt for a touchdown. Hunter Quagliano reeled in a touchdown pass. So did Ryan Digman. So they've got a lot of weapons and a lot of guys to get the ball to. They're tough and physical up front. On their defense, Marion had put up a lot of yards, I think, in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And they really stifled it. They only allowed one pass completion for 5 yards in the first half, and that's pretty impressive. And them coming away with a 35-7 lead or win. Boy, I tell you what, I'm jumping on the Western Dubuque bandwagon, because they look pretty strong.
All right. Before we go into this week a little bit, the playoff picture is starting to take shape a little bit, especially from 2A on down. Just kind of go from class to class here. We'll start with 5A. We'll stay local. Right now, Kennedy's sitting at number 6 in the RPI. Prairie is 11. Linmar's 14. Iowa City West is 15. City High's on the other side of the top 16 line there at 18. If the playoffs started, if the playoffs were today, it'd be Kennedy against Prairie in the round in the first round. Wouldn't that be kind of fun with Kyle Knock and all that? So
could find a few angles to go with there.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah. We could find a lot, but I think if Kennedy wins out, they'll probably rise another spot or two, maybe. Prairie, I would think Prairie would be in if they win 2 of their last 3. If they win all 3, I think they've got a good shot at hosting first round. I think both Linmar and West are in the position if they could get to 5 and 4, they would probably both get in. And I don't know, City High is kind of on that other side. They might have to go 6 and 3 to get in. So that's kind of where we're sitting now in 5A. 4A Region 2, Decorah and Western Dubuque are both 2-0 in that district, and they still play each other. 4A District 3, Clear Creek, Amana, and Xavier both 2-0. I think, I don't think there's any doubt that Xavier and North Scott are by far the 2 best teams in that district. Xavier and CCA still have to play. 3A3, Independence and West Delaware both 2-0. I think they play. Do they play next week in week 8? If so, that whether it's week 8 or week 9, that would be a dandy. 3A full. Go ahead, KJ. Sorry.
Who is that you were wondering playing week 8?
West Delaware and Indy.
Oh, okay.
Del Buck or Buck Dell or whatever they call it in wrestling. That trophy up there.
Del Buck.
Yeah. So, and that's with the growth of Independence's program. That's really turned into a fun rivalry in football.
Yeah, Indy finishes Macokota, West Delaware, and CPU in its final 3 weeks.
Okay, gotcha.
And that matchup with West Delaware is at Brown Field in Manchester.
All right. I think it was last year as well.
Really?
3A4, Mount Vernon's 2-0. They've kind of got control of that district now by virtue of their win over Assumption last week. Assumption's one of 4 teams that are 1-1 there. 3A5, we'll touch on this, and KJ is going to be at this game on Friday. Williamsburg and Solon, both 2-0. The winner of that game on Fridays definitely has the inside track to that district championship. Solon came away with a 16-13 double overtime win over Benton last week to get into the position that it's in this week with another big challenge. KJ, what do you look for in that game on Friday?
Well, I just want to be open and honest about maybe my attitude towards Solon here. When they got handled by Assumption in the opening game, and then I think beat Clear Creek maybe 7-3 or something. I had kind of written them off a little bit, to tell you the truth. I kind of thought, oh, okay, well, this is a rebuilding year or what have you. But I tell you what, they've really bounced back and have been impressive. It just seems to be growing each week. Tyler Bell. I think maybe that Solon offense versus that Williamsburg defense. I think that's where this game is going to hinder or kind of hinge on, what they've been able to do. A fairly balanced attack where Solon has rushed for 900 yards this season, thrown for 720. Tyler Bell, their leading passer, 708 yards, 7 touchdowns. But he's also had 5 picks, and that's where those ball hawks on Williamsburg defense, the Heitmans, the Weegens, the Weisskops of the world, where they really kind of earn their paychecks, right? So that's going to be interesting. See if Solon can really pound the ball and maybe keep it out of Williamsburg's offense hand. The Williamsburg offense hands. That actually last week we found out it's in somebody else's hands with their starter Cockrell getting hurt, but Derek Weiskopf comes in, throws a touchdown pass on his very first snap under center, ended up throwing for 3 touchdowns after catching one from Cockrell before he re-aggravated his ankle injury. So I think those are some things to kind of look at, kind of how that Solon offense handles the Williamsburg defense. And then, what are the Raiders going to be able to do offensively if they have to move pieces around and kind of make up for injuries. So really looking forward to that one. And of course, the district title is really going to come into focus there for one of those 2 teams after getting that win.
We'll go to 2A3. That's turned into a really balanced district. I'll tell you, a team that's really come on is Waukon, and they're always good.
Right?
What's that?
Imagine that, right?
Yeah. That's
another one of those teams that maybe got overlooked with early season. Those first 2 weeks. At least on my end, one of those teams that you saw the results and you're like, okay, this is a down year for them. And
how many times have we said that before with them?
Yeah, and then look where they're at.
Exactly.
Again.
Yeah. So Waukon, Crestwood, North Fayette Valley are in a 3-way tie there in 2A3, and once you get to 2A down to A, 4 teams from each district make the playoffs. So I think all 3 of those are in pretty good shape. 2A4, I don't think there's much doubt that Monticello is the cream of the crop there. They're 3-0 in that district, 4-1 overall. 1A3, we've talked about this district a lot, just between the 3 of us, and a a little bit on our 4 downs. That's a 4-way tie for the lead now. Denver, MFL, Sumner, Fredericksburg, Dike, New Hartford, and then you got AP probably sitting as the odd team out unless something happens here in the last few weeks. JJ, have you been able to, kind of see a superior team out of those 4?
Heck no. Flip a coin. No, I mean, serious. I mean, the results prove it, right? On any given week, that old cliche, but Sumner Fredericksburg's had a couple of really nice wins in a row here back to back and seem to be playing really good football right now. And I think we all kind of wondered how MFL might respond to the last couple of weeks ago. And KJ kind of talked to Coach Anderson, and for our rewind in Sunday's paper, and KJ, he had to been happy, right? With how they responded to a tough loss.
Yeah, and I thought it was really interesting the way Dan Anderson mentioned that he was worried all the way through the week of practice. This team still were not necessarily pouting, but they were hanging their heads. They, that loss to Dike, New Hartford really, really stung. Or not Dike, New Hartford, the Sumner Fredericksburg.
Yeah.
Really, really stung. And, that kind of lingered all through the week. And he said about 10 minutes before kickoff with Dike, New Hartford, that's when he really saw something kind of flip, that they put it behind him, and he saw the kind of fire in their eyes again. And, that showed some resilience, some maturity, and toughness. And, they even got, they got punched in the mouth right away by Dike, New Hartford. Dike, New Hartford scored on like the second play of the game, a big 80-yard run, I believe. And, then MFL Marmac answered and took control defensively. They really kind of put it to Dike, New Hartford. I think the second touchdown Dike, New Hartford had came later in the game, maybe with about 6 minutes to go. It was against the reserve team. And, this was a defining moment for them, I think, a little bit, to see how they would respond. And boy, any questions that Dan Anderson had about that were answered probably about four minutes into that win over Dike, New Hartford. And they really like how they are going forward here with Denver.
Yeah, they don't have much time to celebrate that win. Like you said, they host Denver on Friday, and in another big game in that district. So we'll go down to 1A5. 3 really good teams in that district, and West Branch put itself in really good position to win that district. And they with a 21-17 win over Regina last week, and they go to Wilton this week. And we've talked about teams that have bounced back after slow starts, and here West Branch started 0-2 with a really lopsided loss to Williamsburg, and then I think they lost a close one to Dike, and now here they are, and the win over Regina proves that they sure haven't fallen very far.
No, and I mean, you have to look at it, like you said. I mean, that's 2 pretty tough games to start out with, and then there was the whole thing with Coach Peterson and trying to deal with that, and the new not really new coaches, but new lead voice, right, as head coach, and John Hirschman. And that's tough. That was tough, and they really have responded, and that was a huge win over Regina. And I'm not ashamed to admit that surprised me a little bit. I don't know about you guys, but it did me.
Yeah, absolutely. Class A District 4, that's still a log jam. Maquoketa Valley, North Lynn, Starmont, East Buck are all 4-1. I'll be at Delhi this week. North Lynn plays Maquoketa Valley, and just another huge game there. I don't think Starmont and East Buck wouldn't play each other because they've already played. So I think one of them must play Bellevue, which
That's
is
Starmont.
okay, which is Bellevue's sitting in fifth there at 3-2, still, right in the race, but needs to stack some wins together if they're going to be one of those four teams. Has anybody? I'm on that Class A committee as far as voting, and I really haven't been able to put much separation between any of those four teams, and they've all got they're all impressive, but they've all got a pretty bad blemish. And I'm not sure that East Buck's not the best team in there, but you still got to look at 46-0. And, none of those teams are in the Class A top 10. But I think once those things, once everything sorts out, somebody might make a jump, maybe even as high as 6, 7, 8 in there. So, have you guys been able to find a leader among that group?
I think East Buck is probably the best team there, especially after what they did against Northland. I'm still putting a little asterisk by the Starmont game. The fact that they were without Hunter Bauer for that game when things got out of hand, they just didn't have a playmaker to go to kind of right the ship, and that's because he was on the sideline. Jerry Alden was he's the first one to say one player doesn't make up for 40 points. And one person, they were without that person and beat a really good Maquoketa Valley team. So he might kind of hedge away from that, but I still think that's the biggest difference. And I think East Buck, despite that lopsided loss to Starmont, I still think East Buck's the best team out of that group.
And East Buck's got the advantage among those four teams because they've already played everybody else. So I would say you can just about pencil in East Buchanan for 6-1, and we'll see how the tiebreaker works if and when we get to that point. So Mac Valley,
their schedule was heavy with Bellevue, Maquoketa Valley, Starmont, Northland. I think all within the first 4 weeks, right?
Yeah. So Mac Valley, they still, they've got Lance McShane. He's already got 1,500 yards rushing, and they close with Northland and Starmont. So if they would get, to 6-1, they'll certainly have earned that as well. Let's see. Looking around here, Lisbon, Class A District 5. I think they're based on their win over Columbus Community, they're probably they're in charge of their own destiny. They play Danville this week, but I think that they're going to win that district. 8-player District 5, big game in that one. Central City at 5-1 goes to Lone Tree, also 5-1. They're both 4-0 in the district. So that's the winner of that one's going to win that district. 8-player District 6, everybody's chasing Winfield Mount Union. They're 4-0. 8-player District 7, Moravia's in charge of that one at 4-0. So that's kind of looking at the way things stand here with 2 weeks to go. Anything you guys are really have your eyes on this week or next?
I just think the big one was Solon Williamsburg. I think that's probably one of those marquee games away from the Metro. Because that's not only going to determine a lot within the district, but that's really going to be an eye opener for who people might expect to see in the dome down the road.
Yeah. And there's no reason to believe there's not a possibility they might both get there if they're bracketed the right way.
Variables.
So yeah. So JJ, who do you have Friday?
Let's see. I got the Kolach Bowl, so I'm going to head over to Sikora Bakery tomorrow afternoon. Pick up about a dozen true kolaches and take them over and stick them in the press box. And first come, first serve. And I I'm kidding here when I say this. I hope he takes them the right way. Jim Walker from Channel 7, if he's there, I'm sure he's going to belly up and have at least a couple. So
Really quick, what's your favorite flavor of kolache?
That's exactly what I was going to ask.
cherry. I love cherry kolaches. And
KJ?
I know that's basic.
How about you, KJ?
But I'm actually a huge fan of the lemon kolaches.
Ooh.
I got to try that.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a bastardization of kolaches to have kind of more citrusy, I think when you look at like prune and apricot, cherry, that kind of stuff, I think those are more prevalent, blueberry. So I think the citrusy part is maybe a bastardization of a true kolache, but that's my favorite.
I didn't know they made prune kolaches.
Raspberry kolaches are, prune kolaches.
Ooh.
Very popular.
All right.
Believe it or not. But I think raspberry, lemon are my two favorite. What about you, Lindy?
I'm an apricot guy.
Apricot, yeah. That's
apricot, good. You betcha. So, any parting thoughts going in, before we head out for the day and out for the week? KJ's got a game here in a few hours, and I'll be up at the MVC cross country meet here in a few hours. And just any closing thoughts?
No, it's just it's been fun so far. We're really starting to get into some really good matchups, and the district races are all coming into focus a lot more now with the last third of the regular season, last 2 weeks for the smaller classes. So this is a fun time of year, and a lot of things are starting to really shake out. So looking forward to seeing what teams continue to climb and what teams improve here in the next couple of weeks. And just a reminder to check out all of our content on the Gazette.com with Jeff Linder's capsules and rankings and everything going forward, our 4 downs that we do each week, JJ's preview features, and all of our game coverage. Make sure to check that out at the Gazette.com.
JJ, any final words?
I've got a story on Anamosa coming up. That'll be in tomorrow's paper and later on online here. I'm in the middle of midst of finishing that. Anamosa's 4-2 and looking pretty good for playoffs. A team that I think won 1 game each the last couple of seasons, 2 games the year before that, has only made the playoffs as far as they can tell 4 or 5 times in school history, and on the verge of getting there. It's a nice turnaround story there, and a lot of underclassmen playing. So that's my feature, I guess.
Yeah, they had a really nice run about maybe 6-7 years ago. I think they got to the quarters that year. Ran into Tristan Wirfs and those guys I think it was in the quarters. So didn't mean to interrupt, KJ. Go ahead.
No, I have one question for you, Lindy. You are the king of the RPI here. Is West Des Moines Valley pretty much out in 5A?
Let me take a look at it. And they are sitting 28th in RPI at 1-5. If they would win out and get to 4-5, they have no chance at 3-6. And I think they still have at least one tough game left. If they would get to 4-5, they might get close to the line. I'd have to do a lot of number crunching to see if they'd have a shot. I wouldn't count them out.
Isn't that crazy though? I mean, that program, and they played an unreal schedule as far as toughness. All the biggies out there in suburban Des Moines, but they haven't won. They haven't beat any of them. So
no,
that's a quality football team that could be sitting out once the playoffs roll around, I guess.
Yeah, they got Waterloo West, Ankeny, and Marshalltown. So I would say they probably have 2 gimmies plus Ankeny in the middle, which is probably another Central Iowa coin flip game. So if they could get to 4 wins, maybe, and if they're sitting at 4-5 and they're a 15 or 16 seed, is that really somebody you want to see first round? I don't think so. So, all right. Well, we'll close up shop for today. Thanks for joining us. Week 7. Enjoy the games tonight. Enjoy the games tomorrow, and we'll be right back at you in 7 days.